Have you ever stood in the midst of chaos, while no one could see the storm raging inside you? No one knew how many times you had to hold yourself back, how many times you wanted to give up. Yet you kept going, silently. There are moments when you don't need others to believe in you, you just need to stop losing yourself again. In this turbulent world, calmness is a form of weaponry, not loud, not needing to prove anything, but heavy with power. When others rush to react, the one who remains unshaken is the one in control. Not control in the eyes of others, but control within. A kind no one can take from you if you've forged it. But how do you reach that point when your inner world is still in disarray, when life continues to test you every single day? In this video, we won't speak of muscular strength, but of discipline. Not about external victories, but the silent triumphs within. When Stoic philosophy meets the path of Shugyo, you will no longer be the same person. 1. Life is your dojo. No one enters life fully prepared. We often think we need to be stable, to study enough, to reach a certain threshold before we can begin truly living. But the truth is, you've been in the dojo for a long time, you just haven't realized it. Every criticism that silenced you, every failure that choked your belief, every sleepless night that no one knew about, none of it was a sign that you were on the wrong path. It was silent training sent by life. You don't have to wait until you're strong to start training. Being wounded is the first test that shows you've already stepped into the dojo called life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Not so you can overcome and discard it, but so you can forge yourself in the journey itself. A soldier doesn't wait for war to learn how to wield a sword. A Stoic doesn't wait for life to be gentle before training his will. And the one walking the path of Shugyo understands. True training doesn't happen in safe spaces. It happens where you're most likely to lose your temper, to overreact, to give up. In those moments, every time you hold the line, it's a clean strike against your former self. You can't control what others say, do, or believe, but you can control how you respond to all of it. And in that very control, you begin forging a kind of strength that no one sees, yet everyone feels. It's the kind of power that keeps you unaffected by praise, unshaken by judgment, and unafraid of being left behind. Because you know the only place you must conquer is yourself. And that practice repeats every single day. When you understand that every difficult moment is an opportunity to build resilience, you'll stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I learn from this?" The dojo is not somewhere far away. It's right here where you live, where you breathe, where you're being tested. You can choose to keep living reactively, or you can begin walking like a warrior, training in every step, every breath, every decision. Starting today, don't just survive the day, live like you're in the dojo, because you've always been in it. 2. Commit to 100 days of practice. The dojo doesn't require you to prove anything to others, but it will force you to face yourself every single day. Because true strength doesn't come from one inspired training session, but from your ability to keep going even when inspiration fades. That's why, if you truly want to rebuild yourself, you need to enter a form of uncompromising commitment. 100 days of uninterrupted practice with yourself. No training session is great if it's not repeated. No change is real unless it becomes a habit. What causes most people to fail isn't a lack of beginnings, but a lack of continuation. They start with emotion and end with forgetfulness. They have intentions but no system. Motivation but no commitment. And that's when the old self quietly wins, by convincing you to pause just for now. Stoicism doesn't demand perfection, but it does demand integrity. Not integrity to the world, but to yourself. Because you cannot love yourself if you constantly betray your own promises. The 100-day commitment is not an external challenge. It's an internal war where you train seriousness in every small action. You choose not to break discipline even when no one's watching. You choose to keep going even when the day is full of disappointment. You choose to stop negotiating with laziness. Shugyo is the path of steps that seek no glory. Each training session is a silent declaration. I will no longer be a victim. When you commit to 100 days, you're rebuilding the foundation upon which true confidence is built. Trust in yourself. And what makes a person unshakable isn't that they never fall, but that they have a reason to continue every day. The 100-day commitment is the first test. Not to see if you can win, but to see if you'll still compromise with familiar weakness. If you overcome yourself in 100 days, you're no longer who you were. And no one needs to acknowledge it because you'll feel it in how you walk, how you speak, and how you face life from day 101 onward. 3. Seek discomfort instead of avoiding it. No one enjoys being pushed into discomfort, but that very reflex to avoid it is the seed of weakness. Every time you choose ease, you lose a chance to grow. Not because difficulty is noble, but because no true growth ever happens in comfort. You cannot forge steel in warm water. And you cannot become unbreakable if you spend your life in the safe zone. Discomfort is the old teacher everyone tries to avoid. But it's the only one who speaks the truth without trying to please you. It forces you to face your limits, your lack of discipline, your dependencies, and all the dark parts of your being you try to hide with what's comfortable. But if you dare return, sit across from your pain instead of running, you'll see that unease is the test, the lesson, the launch pad for a stronger version of you to emerge. Stoicism does not glorify suffering, but it understands that no real tranquility comes from a smooth life. Epictetus didn't learn equanimity from peace, but from the life of a slave, where he had to train calmness in things utterly out of his control. Discomfort to the disciplined is not a threat but a signal. When it shows up, it means you're at the edge of evolution. And if you take one more step forward instead of retreating, you'll discover a strength calm days never taught you. Those on the Shugyo path don't seek inspiration. They seek the edge of endurance to surpass it. They don't ask if today is easy or hard. They ask what they're willing to face, because they understand that what makes you most uncomfortable is often exactly what you need most. Discomfort is the training, but it must be intentional. You don't wait for suffering to arrive to learn, you walk into it. to choose who you become. And to keep that path from breaking, you need a clear framework of commitment. Because without a defined edge to shape yourself against, you'll fall back into old patterns every time fatigue hits. That's when you must go deeper, not with bursts of willpower, but with steady discipline. And the most practical way to begin is to set a challenge that leaves no room for compromise. 100 days of uninterrupted commitment, not to achieve something external, but to reclaim control from within. 4. Treat every moment as training. Those who seek discomfort don't do it to prove they're different, but to rebuild silent endurance. But if you only face challenge when it's grand, you're missing out on the quiet training sessions that happen every day. In truth, what shapes resilience isn't the storms, but how you move through the smallest moments with the mindset of someone training their soul. Stoicism is not a philosophy for display. It's a way of life practiced hourly in the very situations you think are mundane. When someone interrupts you, when you're misunderstood, when plans fall apart. When life doesn't go your way, it's not injustice. It's your invitation to today's training session. You don't need an audience. You only need the awareness to say, this is a drill. And like any drill, if you skip it, you'll have to repeat it later in harsher form. On the Shugyo path, every moment can become the dojo. How you wait for the bus, how you respond to rudeness, how you act when you're exhausted, each is a chance to observe and adjust. A person who remains composed isn't someone who never gets angry, but someone who has trained tranquility even when there's no clear reason to be calm. They don't wait for chaos to practice stability. They turn every ordinary act into an internal exam. Epictetus once reminded, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Because your reaction, not your circumstances, reveals your level of maturity. And if you treat each reaction as a rep in your training, you're living in a dojo with no breaks. That's not extremism. That's awareness. When you accept that every moment is forging a part of your resilience, life no longer feels like a string of burdens, but a sequence of exercises strengthening your will, one layer at a time. And those who live like this, awake in small things, firm in the ordinary, are the ones no situation can ever truly shake. Because they didn't wait for collapse to begin training. They trained in silence, even when no one noticed. 5. Discipline in small things builds big strength. Those who can treat every moment as a training session understand that resilience doesn't come from short bursts of effort, but from silent, repeated habits. But if you only focus on grand situations, you'll miss where true strength begins, in the small. And it is discipline in the small, unseen and unforced, that becomes the foundation of an unshakable inner life. The Stoic doesn't seek the spectacular. They seek consistency. They know you cannot stand firm in storms if you've never balanced yourself in soft winds. Strength is not a gift, but a distillation of every moment you chose not to delay. Every time you shut the screen on time, every time you completed a task no one reminded you to finish. These seemingly trivial actions, repeated day after day, become the backbone of true character. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, "Get up. You were not born for pleasure, but for work." A simple phrase, but one that reveals discipline does not arise from inspiration but from a deep understanding of your purpose. The Shugyo practitioner knows that ease is a hidden enemy. It doesn't attack head-on, but drains you slowly with each delay, each allowance for laziness, each time you whisper, "Just this once." Only when you're strict with the small are you qualified to face the big. Discipline doesn't make you rigid. It frees you from being ruled by fleeting emotions. When you do what's right without motivation, when you move forward even when no one sees, when you choose action over excuses, you stop trying to become strong. You begin to be strong. And through that strength, you gain the inner force to remain awake in every reaction. Because calmness is never natural. It's forged when you live with discipline even when no one demands it. It is sustained when you begin treating the smallest daily acts as opportunities to prove. You operate on a different level, one that needs no applause, no reward, only continued practice, silently, without ever softening the standard. 6. The samurai view of struggle. Not everyone understands the language of pain. Most people just want to get through it as quickly as possible, as if suffering were a mistake to be erased. But for those who walk the way of the sword, pain is neither an enemy nor an obstacle. It is a vital part of the training journey. A samurai does not treat pain as an accident. They walk into it with a calm face as if they've met it 100 times before. Because they know pain doesn't weaken you. It's the avoidance of pain that keeps you from ever growing up. In Japanese philosophy, there's a concept called gaman, silent endurance, without complaint, without boasting, without asking to be understood. It is not submission, but a form of steadiness, forged so deeply it no longer needs to be shown. The one who practices gaman doesn't need comfort. They don't need anyone to acknowledge their strength. They only need to remain centered, even if their body is breaking. And in that silence, dignity is forged. The Stoic doesn't teach you to sugarcoat events. They don't tell you to be blindly optimistic. They simply ask, who will you become through this? Marcus Aurelius didn't write comforting words. He recorded the truth that life is chaotic. People betray, and death comes faster than you expect. But by accepting these truths, he became free of them. Suffering, to him, was a mandatory exam of life, and your attitude toward it is the only part you control. Just like forging steel, the flame isn't viewed as a negative. It's the only thing that can make steel unbreakable. Life, seen through the eyes of a warrior, is no longer a string of injustices, but a series of tests designed to show you how stable you really are. And the truth is often harsher than your expectations. But you don't have to fight everything at once. You only need to begin with the smallest thing. Endure without reacting, face things without complaining, step back without feeling defeated. And in those acts, small and silent, you're building a power greater than anything you've ever known. That power isn't born under spotlights. It grows in darkness, where it's just you, discipline, and the small unfinished tasks waiting to meet you each day. 7. Step into your personal pilgrimage. The strength forged in suffering doesn't make you cold. It makes you look inward with honesty. After all the lessons, all the falls, all the unspoken endurances, you start to realize life isn't something to fully understand, but something to live through with awareness. And at that edge, the real journey begins. No more chasing images, no more craving recognition, no more thirst for someone to validate your growth. You turn inward. The first step of personal training always begins with a refusal to live as you did before. The Japanese call it a pilgrimage back to the self. You don't have to leave the city, don't need to climb a mountain, don't need to retreat. You just have to stop living through borrowed patterns. You no longer want to become someone else. You want to know who you are when no one is watching. When you walk the path of Shugyo, the path of personal discipline, you don't seek inspiration. You seek principles you can hold on to even in darkness, even in solitude, even in meaningless days. Not to please anyone, but to stop betraying yourself. That path has no signposts. No one tells you the exact steps. But you'll know you're walking it when you start clearing out old habits, hollow relationships, empty conversations, and things you once thought were essential but now are just noise. Personal training doesn't begin with adding. It begins with removing. Removing what scatters your focus. Removing the illusions that lull you into stagnation, and only when you're lighter can you see clearly. No companion needed, no applause, no deadlines. This journey is only between you and the discipline you create for yourself. It might be 3 months without dating, 6 months without complaining, 1 year without self-pity. These things may sound simple, but if done seriously, they pull you out of your old self one day at a time. And one day you'll look back and realize you're no longer that person. Not because you tried to become someone else, but because you were brave enough to stop running from yourself. And in that silence, you step into a different life, one where you no longer need to fight to feel worthy, because your presence is the proof. 8. Keep the promises you make to yourself. Once you've stepped into your personal journey, there's no one left to blame and nowhere left to hide. Every action, every choice, every thought reflects back at you. No audience, no applause. Only a raw confrontation between who you are and who you want to become. And in that silence, one truth becomes clear. The deepest betrayal doesn't come from others, but from the times you didn't keep your own word. What have you promised yourself? That you wouldn't return to a relationship that once hurt you. That you wouldn't check your phone past midnight. That starting tomorrow, you'd wake up early, exercise, and write down the changes you need. But how many times have you taken those promises back casually, as if they didn't matter? The issue isn't the immediate consequence. The issue is that every time you do it, you remove a brick from the foundation of your self-trust. And a person who no longer trusts themselves cannot stand tall, no matter how many ideals they carry. The Stoic doesn't aim to be perfect. They aim to be consistent. Epictetus never promised to never feel disappointment. He just trained not to be ruled by it. Keeping your promises to yourself is a silent but brutal form of discipline. It forces you to do what's right, even when no one reminds you, even when there's no reward, even when no one knows you're struggling inside. But if you win, it's a victory no one can ever take from you. The samurai viewed promises as sacred not out of morality, but dignity. They didn't need to write down what they vowed, because when a promise was spoken in the mind, it became law. Breaking it wasn't just failure, it was a collapse of honor. You don't have to follow that standard. But you must understand, a person who keeps their word to themselves has reclaimed the sovereignty of their mind. And from there, no one can manipulate them, no crisis can pull them off center, because they've become the living proof of one immovable principle: I will not betray myself no matter how many times the world turns its back on me. 9. Build inner boundaries. A person who fails to keep promises to themselves isn't weak. They're simply unclear about their internal boundaries. There's no fence inside to stop impulses from intruding when the will is thin. No clear line separating what's worth holding on to and what should be let go. And when there are no boundaries, you're swept away by petty demands, fleeting emotions, and unnecessary conversations that only leave your mind in chaos. Building inner boundaries is not a defensive move, but a proactive life strategy. It's how you declare to yourself, I won't let everything out there enter this mind without passing through awareness. Not everything said to you needs a reaction. Not every task presented deserves a yes. Not every rising emotion must be indulged. The Stoic doesn't train for calmness out of numbness, but out of understanding. If you don't govern your inner space, others will with their words, expectations, and judgments. Boundaries are invisible, but they determine whether you can remain grounded. When you're caught up in every story, every emotion, every bit of drama, it's not because you care too much, but because you haven't yet learned to distinguish what's your business and what isn't. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And if you want to protect your mind from being wrecked, you must begin to build a perimeter where things unworthy of entry will never pass through. Shugyo doesn't teach you to resist the world. It teaches you to stand firm in it without absorbing its chaos. And to do that, you can't be someone who's always open. You must know when to close, not out of fear, but out of respect for your inner stillness. Every intentional action begins from a mind with clear borders. And only when you guard that internal sanctuary do you have enough silence to stay true, to stay consistent, to not betray what you've chosen. Because you know, if you let the wrong things in, the first thing you lose is self-mastery. And once that's gone, keeping promises to yourself becomes nothing more than a noble idea on paper. 10. Master the basics first. Once you've built your inner boundaries, you're no longer easily swept away by external chaos. But to stay grounded, you need more than inspiration. You need a system of discipline rooted in the most fundamental practices. In the philosophy of Shugyo, the first phase is called Shu, which means to preserve the original form. This is when you don't try to be creative, don't try to innovate, don't leap into high levels. You simply repeat the basics until they become second nature. Most people don't fail because they lack ambition. They fail because they underestimate the value of small things. They want to master the mind, but can't control their sleep schedule. They speak of inner freedom, but can't stop scrolling their phone in silence. They set grand goals, but can't maintain a consistent morning routine. And then they think they're weak. But in truth, they've skipped the most crucial foundational step: mastering the basics. Marcus Aurelius didn't write academic treatises. He repeated simple reminders: rise early, work diligently, express gratitude, control your reactions. Things that sound so basic they're almost boring. But those very principles became the spine of the inner force he forged for a lifetime. The strong aren't those who always accomplish great things, but those who repeat the small things without ever giving up. In the Shugyo journey, Shu isn't just for beginners, it's the lesson you return to your entire life. The further you go, the more you see the need to retrain the fundamentals. Only those humble before the basics are strong enough to carry the weight of a long path. No one builds a fortress on soil that hasn't been compacted, and no one sustains strength if they belittle the first principles that once anchored them. Don't dream of mastering the world if you haven't mastered your morning. Don't chase depth if you haven't trained consistency. Start again, with the smallest thing not as a step backward, but as the first step of one who intends to go far and never return to where they were. 11. Break and adapt to evolve. When you've mastered the basics, when every movement becomes as natural as breath, that's not the time to stop. That's the moment when you must break the old form to reach deeper levels. Not because the old way was wrong, but because it served its purpose, and if you cling to it, it becomes a limit. The second phase of Shugyo is called to break and adapt. This is when you stop copying blindly. You begin to question, you stop imitating, you start selecting, you no longer obey, you adjust to walk with your own rhythm. True evolution doesn't come from preserving everything intact. It comes when you dare to dismantle the old structure, even if it once held you up. The Stoic doesn't live by dogma. They use principles to reflect, but they don't fear change. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe always that everything is the result of change. Change doesn't weaken you, only clinging does. And if you don't dare adapt, you grow rigid and easily break." Is the phase of transformation, where you try new approaches, draw lessons from real-life collisions, and rebuild your code of life to suit your unique nature, not someone else's blueprint. It demands the courage to leave comfort behind, even if that comfort was built from your own hard-earned discipline. Because what served you yesterday may become your cage today. This is the moment you're no longer a practitioner following a mold, but a creator shaping something new from what you've trained. And to do this without losing your essence, you must be ruthlessly honest with yourself. No illusions, no pretending, no copying another's journey. No one can tell you exactly how to live right. They can only offer forms. But you and only you must break those forms to discover your own path. That is the courage of one who is evolving, who dares to let go of the familiar to step into the unknown with a heart already forged, and a will ready to change for a life that is truer, deeper, and more your own. 12. Transcend and Become. When you've dared to break the old form, to adapt, to relearn, to fail deliberately, You're no longer someone who simply follows, but someone who is transforming. And if you continue to the end of this path, you'll enter a state no longer bound by any form. No need to mimic, no need to affirm, no need to speak it aloud. You simply live in your own way with a quiet steadiness no one can teach and no one can touch. The final phase of Shugyo is called to transcend and become, to rise and transform. In you no longer try to display inner power because it's fused into every gesture, every thought, every way you face life. Others may not understand why you're so calm, why you no longer react the way you used to, why you don't need noise yet still command respect. But you understand you no longer operate through effort. You live through consistency built from hundreds of unseen days of training. You don't need to prove you have discipline because you've become discipline. You don't recite principles because you are the principle, alive, quiet, indivisible. Marcus Aurelius didn't name this state, but he once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." One who has entered no longer needs a definition. They are the definition. Not in words, but in presence. They are no longer a product of this world, but a singular embodiment of themselves, forged through pain, discipline, trial, and relentless rejection of their old self. You can't force this state. It doesn't come because you want it. It comes when you are humble enough to begin again, brave enough to break through, disciplined enough to repeat, quiet enough to observe, and honest enough ever to compromise. And one day, without warning, you'll realize you're no longer where you once were. You've crossed the threshold most people only watch from afar. You no longer try to be strong. You are nameless, unrecognized, not needing to be understood and yet unforgettable. Because you have transcended, and you have truly become. I used to think that to be strong, I had to control everything. Time, emotions, expectations, outcomes. But then came a period when everything fell apart at once, and the only thing I could still hold on to was the ability not to react. Not because I was good at enduring, but because I was too tired to fight. And in that moment, I entered a different state where I no longer tried to be tough, but simply wanted to return to the most fundamental thing, keeping my promises to myself. Waking up early one morning. 1 hour of uninterrupted writing. One day without checking my phone after 10 p.m. No praise. No one noticed. But I could feel something shifting inside. I no longer reacted hastily. I was no longer easily swayed. And I no longer needed to be understood by many. I just needed not to stray from the path again. Shugyo wasn't something I read about. It's something I'm living every day, in silence, but never in confusion. If this video helped you see more clearly the path to becoming the most grounded version of yourself, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss what's coming next. You don't need to speak loudly to be heard. You just need to live deeply enough to never be forgotten. You don't need to do more. You just need to be more steadfast, more silent, and never compromise with your former self. You've entered the path of discipline, and that alone is enough to change your entire life. I'll see you in the next video.